Why, hello there. It's Bourbon Bill, and tonight, a very special rant. So I don't generally make these. It's like a news video for those that don't know, okay? We are here to talk about Makers Mark, but not the BEP. Okay, so for those that live under a rock, Makers Mark has officially announced their cellar aged bourbon. It is a cask strength. In fact, 115.7. So look out. Blend of 87% 12 year and 13% 11 year. So holy shit, everybody. Makers has done an age-stated bourbon that we've all been asking for. And I just felt the need to discuss it with all of you. If you hate this type of video, let me know. I won't do another one. If you like it, I can do more. But felt compelled to talk about it because there's a few key things here that A, pissed me off about it, and B, intrigued me. So look, Makers Mark's done these wood finishing series forever. This happens to be the 2023 BEP, barrel entry proof, whatever. But they're all the same, This one's 109.6. So at least cellar age is 115.7. At least we're creeping up, okay? Now, generally, low barrel entry proof is good. So Makers goes into the barrel at generally 110. So that's good. That's probably my favorite out of the wood finishing series. But let's talk about Makers Mark, right? They innovated. They started the wood finishing series in 2019. They probably were one of the early ones to do it. I've enjoyed all the ones I've tasted, to be honest with you. Liked them all. And, over the years, they range in price from like 60 to 70 MSRP, and they were good. But here in 2023, the BEP, I think, was the best. I mean, I didn't have them all at the same time to compare. I kind of did batches that I had them and drank them. I do drink my bottles, so they don't stick around forever. I think the BEP was probably the best. Some would argue it's not, but whatever. It's a good one, okay? But here in 2023, wood finishing's played out. I mean, everyone and their brother's doing that, or they're doing finishings, and I just feel like Makers has been kind of left in the dust. They don't, another wood finish with American or French oak. Like, how much more of that can we take? So thankfully, they were smart enough to realize that, and they said, this is it. BEP's done. We are done with wood finishing chapter. We'll do a new chapter next year. Sayonara to wood finishing. And no one really knows what that next chapter will be. I'm not sure the cellar aged is that chapter. I just think something different. So everyone saw the TTB label, and I actually included it in my bourbons to get for the year. It was cellar aged Makers. They had a little proof in there of 90.6. Thankfully, it's not 90.6. It's actually cask at 115.7. So that was a placeholder, like everyone hoped. And it was a blend of 11 and 12-year-old Makers Mark. Okay, so that's exciting. It was then and it is now. That's pretty exciting. They did say in the press release that the cellar age will be an annual release. But I don't know if that equates to Chapter 2, right? Is it? I don't know. What I do know is some very interesting things. One is that cellar age, like you might expect, is aged in a cellar for part of the time. And I never put two and two together what that meant. So it's generally believed, and it's generally confirmed, that Makers Mark is about 6 years old. So for the cellar age release, they said, we age our Makers Mark barrels for 6 years in the normal rick houses. And then we put them in a cellar for 5 to 6 years to make the 11 and the 12-year-old components of this blend. But the cellar is kept at a constant temperature of like 48 to 50 degrees, something like that. I'm not entirely sure. But that means very little interaction. So Makers, who was kind of like the most boring of the big distilleries, they went the most boring route about it. And I mean, what the heck were they thinking? And if you watch their marketing material, it's bad. It really is. Like, whoever's a marketing person for Makers should be fired, honestly. Like, our taste vision. Like, you sound stupid, honestly. You do. You sound stupid. They say, oh, it's older, but there's nothing tannic about it. And I read that and say, that means it's older, but there's like no oak. And I just gotta say, like, how do you screw this up, Makers? Now, of course, I haven't tasted it. Maybe I'll taste it and I'll be like, I was an idiot for making this video. I'm fairly worried here, okay? They should have taken Makers and made like a Makers Coy Hill. Give me like a Makers Attic version. You know, I want 12 years at the steaming top of the rick house. I want Makers Coy Hill, Makers Attic, whatever you want to call it. I want like 120 some proof Makers just smoking hot off the roof for 12 years. I want it dark, I want it oaky, and I want it delicious. And I think people think that's what this could be, and I think they're going to be disappointed. You know, and Makers even tells you that in their marketing lingo. Oh, it's to our taste vision. It's not aged to a number. What the heck does that mean? That means you put it in a cellar after 6 years to slow down the amount of oak that it obtained, okay? And that just seems against the grain for what people want from that type of product, okay? Let's talk about the price. 150 doll hairs, okay? Makers is always known for value. So if most of their stuff is 6 years old, you know, 60 to 70, you're talking $10 a year, okay, for their wood finishing series. Their other stuff is cheaper. Their cast strengths are a great bargain. Love their cast strengths. But now you're charging $150, and you got to say, what's your demographic for a $150 12-year-old bourbon? It's people that like oak. It's people that like oak. And you're here saying, well, we put it in a cellar so it didn't have any tannic qualities. That's like saying you made a car, but you didn't put fucking doors on it because, well, people don't like doors. Of course they do. People buying a $150 bourbon that's 12 years old, A, expect it to have oak, and B, expect it to be older age tasting. If you don't like older age bourbons, you're not spending $150, $200 on old age bourbon. You're buying maybe a Knob Creek 9 single barrel. You're buying maybe a Russell's 10 store pick. You know, good quality bourbons, but not a ton of oak. You're not out there buying 12-year plus bourbons if you don't like oak. So Makers, I think, again, we're here speculating, but I think they like flub this, okay? It's like, what are you doing? You're releasing a 12-year product, it better have some dang oak to it. And you put it in a cellar to prevent that from happening, which is kind of the sad part here, right? And we think about cellar aging, it's probably like double the amount of time in the cellar for the years. So let's compute, do the math here, okay? So 6 years in a regular rick house is 6 years. 5 to 6 years in a cellar, 2.5 to 3 max. So this is like a 8.5-year-old Makers Mark, which is still older than the general Makers Mark, and I'm excited to try. I'm still going to get one, but $150 for what's probably going to taste like an 8.5 to 9-year-old bourbon, that's a little steep, don't you think? I hope I'm wrong. These are just my fears and my initial thoughts upon hearing some of the release material. Feel free to comment. Comment if you think you agree with me or you don't. I just think I want this to be a William LaRue Weller killer. WLW, suck it. I'm buying the Makers Cellar Aged. That's 15 years old. And higher proof. And guess what? It's got oak to it. They didn't age WLW in a cellar to cut back on its tannic qualities. They put that in because people that are buying now want that. They want a well-aged, high-aged, oaky beast. And I just feel like Makers missed the boat. I mean, I get that. So here's my hope. My hope is that Makers, this is the new chapter. Okay? They didn't screw this up. Here's cellar aged. Here's like mid-shelf aged. And here's attic aged. They better release an attic aged Makers. So I'm hoping that their new chapter is actually well-aged bourbon at different levels in the rick house. And maybe that's what they did. So this rant would be for nothing. So if you like what you saw tonight, please like, comment, and most importantly, hit that subscribe button. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.